Source: My stepmom's daughter is my ex. Welcome back to Annie Recaps. Like and subscribe so you never miss our quality uploads. In what could only be described as a folly of youth, MC and the main girl Yume became a so-called couple during the 8th to 9th grade. As so many relationships of that age do, it eventually ended poorly, leaving the pair embittered at each other as well as the very concept of romance. But destiny had other plans for them, bringing their parents together into marriage and turning these ex-lovebirds into new step-siblings. At the current timeline, we see Yume and MC having a disagreement about where they should go. Each had their own idea about the places they want to go, but they couldn't come to a consensus. As their mother walks in, she asks what is going on. They both explain how they were waiting for her at the door. Both of them had an argument before their mother came. So soon after she leaves, they reverted back to their original behavior, disliking each other. Yep, it totally looks like Kaguya-sama, but it's between siblings. After finishing their meal, they go to wash the dishes. Their parents are remarking on how well both of those kids are getting along after they became step-siblings. But their parents don't know that they once dated in middle school. Yume tells our main character that they should avoid anything that might upset their parents or regret their marriage. After that, both of them return to their rooms. But Yume suddenly knocks on the main character's room and enters. She starts complaining about how he keeps calling her first name and wants to change it. Our main character disagrees and says that he should be the older sibling. Both of them continue to debate who will be the eldest until Yume decides their fate through a game. They will both agree to keep their relationship a secret and act like typical siblings. So if any of them act like ex-lovers at any time, they have to admit that they are the younger sibling. Suddenly, Yume seems to be captivated by our main character's books. She begins to read them with interest. Our main character realizes that she is trying to antagonize him in a typical way of a normal sibling. When Yume almost tries to open his hidden stash drawer, he panics, stands up and apologizes to her. He tells her he couldn't bear fighting with her anymore and he's really sorry for being mean. Yume got taken by his words and remembers their old time when they were dating. She calls our main character by his first name, and she loses the bet. Later, at the high school entrance ceremony, they can't pretend to be strangers anymore since they are in the same school and same class. Oh, and they also have the same surname. That's going to be comedic now. Later, Yume stands out in her high school debut more than our main character. In the class, everyone praised Yume for being perfect. Our main character becomes envious of how she got everything better than him. Their teacher arrives and they start the class orientation. Later, several boys pretend to be our main character's friends at school, using him to get closer to Yume. After knowing that our main girl Yume gets angry on his behalf, since our main character was doing literally nothing to get rid of them. Tomorrow morning, Yume wishes to walk to school with our main boy. Being all confused, he says okay and they walk to school together. At the school entrance, some of the boys come to bother him again. She clings to our main boy right on the spot and claims that she has a huge brother complex, so the boys back off and give up. But later, Yume gets really embarrassed thinking about how her watermelons made contact with his arm. Then in the afternoon, it seems like their parents will be coming home late today and they're all alone in the house. Our main boy Kitiro tries to make dinner as he mentions he is the only one who can cook. After checking what they have in the fridge, he mentions chicken breast, which reminded Yume of his clinging to her watermelons moment from earlier, making her feel all embarrassed again. While eating, Yume told him to forget everything that happened in the morning. But MC replies saying how he'd already forgotten about it, which infuriates Yume even more. For revenge, she decides to sit by him wearing only a bath towel, tricking him into peeking at her. He spilled his tea after seeing her in bath towel. This almost works, but she goes too far and her towel falls off until our main boy helps her stay covered up. Yume tries to leave, but both of them trips and fell on the sofa together. Suddenly, they haze a little moment and stare at each other. They forget about the rules of the game and almost kisses each other. All of a sudden, they got interrupted when their parents arrive. They both realize that situations like this are the reason why they don't like each other anymore. On the day of the fitness test, Komanami approaches MC and invites him to take a fitness test together. Our MC doubts his intention to become his actual friend. MC then says how he can't get close to Yume like this. Kawanami denies it and points to Yume. MC turns around only to see Yume blush. She kicks MC's chair out of embarrassment. Later during the body test, a girl named Minami Akatsuki keeps staring at Yume's bosom. She apologizes and tells her how much of envious she is. Minami is so concerned about her size and wonders when she will hit puberty. Yume tells her how she only hit puberty last year, which surprises that girl. Yume whispers to her about her cup size, and Minami is shocked that she is in D cup. Minami then becomes her hope, an ideal girl she can look up to, and feels really encouraged. Minami feels discouraged and unmotivated, while Yume is so concerned since she is not an athletic person. Later during the fitness test, Yume was shocked when she saw Minami excels in all sports categories. When it was her own turn, she notices MC, who was also doing the fitness test. MC was so weak-minded and suddenly give up. She signs thinking how it's best not to be like him. Later we see how she got a satisfying result. After finishing the 50-meter run, Yume becomes really exhausted and faints. MC appeared like a badass Kirito right on time and saves her from falling. He tells her not to push herself too much. In the infirmary, Minami apologizes to Yume for not noticing her exhaustion. Yume replies saying she didn't mind it. Yume then tells her how bad she was at sports activities, and she doesn't want anyone else to find out about it. Minami is relieved that she feels closer to her than before since she was really hard to approach. Minami teases Yume and feels embarrassed. Minami then wants to call Yume by her name, and they become friends. On their way to the classroom, they notice our worrying MC. He then jokes about her having dark circles under her eyes and leaving like a cool bastard. Yume gets pissed, saying MC always picks on her like this. Minami says how he really adores her, to which Yume blushes after rejecting that statement. Few days later, we see Yume catching a fever. Minami gets really worried about her, and she insists to visit her. On the way to home, MC tells the fact that they are step-siblings. Upon entering her room, Yume becomes delirious and almost says something embarrassing until she sees Minami beside him. Minami asks Yume if she's hungry, and she tells Irito to help her cook porridge in the kitchen. While cooking, Minami asks Irito some questions about him having a girlfriend. Minami says how she is really good at reading people. Irito feels weird and can't help himself but to avoid answering her questions. Later, Yume gets embarrassed and can't refuse as Minami insists on feeding her the rice pottage. MC was like, "Wef." Minami feels glad since Yume liked it. Before she took her leave, she tells Irito to take care of Yume and asks a question if there's nothing special about their relationship. MC is like, "F the bitch," and comes back to Yume's room. Yume is back to being shy and asks MC to hold her hand, which reminded Kirito of being with her as his girlfriend in the past. He really adored their relationship. Soon after coming back from the flashback, MC notices how Yume starts demanding stuff. He notices how her temperature had already dropped. Our MC then feels infuriated that Yume was using him like a slave. Yume apologizes and MC lets her go because she's still recovering from a fever. Before our MC goes back to his room, Yume tells him not to go somewhere without telling her, and MC promises, saying knock. A flashback from 6 months ago narrated Yume, showing how she used to worship items given to her by our MC. In the present, Yume sniffs his boxers and then, in a state of panic, drops them on the floor and astoundedly questions herself why she did that. Fearful that she'll regress to her old introverted self and what consequences would befall her if Kirito found out, Yume decides to return them at the best opportunity. When the time comes, Yume sneaks out of her room to return them to Kirito's room, but comes to find out that he had hoped to do the same with her bra. Afterward, the two perform rock, paper, scissors on who goes first for their impromptu family meeting, and Yume goes first. She claims it wasn't her fault and that she merely reverted to her old introverted self. Kirito then had Yume explain what she meant by that, and she sheepishly answers that she used to treasure things given to her by him. Hearing this makes our MC seemingly blush, but he denies the fact. As for his explanation, our main character claims that he believed she wouldn't believe him even if he told her. How Kirito got Yume's bra was he saw it in the dryer after he took his shower, and when he went to pick it up, their father walked in on him. Despite Yume not believing MC, she gives an eerily similar story about she retrieved his boxers. Once they settle everything concerning the altercation between them, MC suggests that they allow a single demand from the other, so long as it doesn't infringe on the other's social norms. Yume agrees to it, which seals the deal. On her way home from school, Yume spots MC with a girl at a restaurant and immediately thinks the two are on a date. What further frustrated Yume was that the girl looked similar to her back when they were dating. The following day, Yume asks Akatsuki about her opinion of it, and she thinks of it as a momentous occasion for our main boy Kirito. Later that day, Yume finds an extra pair of shoes at home and believes the shoes belong to the girl, which she saw him with at the restaurant. Hence, Yume contacts MC and had him do a favor for her, so she can confront the girl she suspects is in his room. When Yume believes the coast is clear, she rushes over to MC's room, and before she can open it, MC exits it. A conversation starts between them about the girl Yume believed to be there, which raises concerns about MC's supposed lecherous behavior or whether their house is haunted. In his room, MC believes that the whole paranormal incident is related to the same girl that he went to the restaurant with. A flashback reveals that the girl was Akatsuki in disguise, and she wants to marry our main boy, so she could become Yume's sister. Akatsuki then explains all the personal things she'd like to do and experience with Yume when they're sisters. Furthermore, Akatsuki follows him throughout the day straight to his home. Our main boy later contacts Koinami about this, to ask him for any advice. Koinami tells MC about Akatsuki's immense infatuation and her passion for clinging to things she holds dear until kaboom. An example of the kaboom was when Akatsuki was in middle school, she had a boyfriend who she was passionately devoted to. In the end, it killed said boyfriend's mood toward her, and he broke up with her. Koinami suggests that for now, MC stands his ground with Akatsuki and that he does not waver from her. If, however, she becomes too much for him to handle, they'll have to take a more direct approach, which our main boy would want real fast. So Koinami suggests that MC have Akatsuki give up her interest in Yume and suggests he tell Yume something. Later, MC visits Yume's room, and he decided to use his penalty for the underwear case, which was to invite her cute sister, Yume, on a date. She was surprised by the sudden invitation from our main boy, but eventually accepted it. Outside the aquarium, Yume is waiting for MC. As Yume starts thinking about the rules of their game, our main boy, Irito, shows up dressed as a handsome K-pop idol, which makes Yume get flustered hard. They head inside, and while they're waiting in line, Yume thinks about how they look like a real couple and how MC is looking like her dream boy that came to life. After MC buys their tickets, he holds Yume's hand, which makes her confused and flustered. A flashback reveals that Koinami made a plan to get Minami to stop being obsessed over Yume by letting Minami watch Yume and main boy Kirito be together, which they hope would crush her heart and lose her hopes of marrying into the family. Koinami had previously told him to always compliment a girl's outfit, and so he tries to compliment her. He accidentally sounds sarcastic while trying to compliment her and thinks he rather messed up with his cringe pickup line. But she rather fell under his OP Kirito-ish charm and gets really embarrassed. He tries to up his game by pulling her towards him, but instead she gave him a piercing glare and a snarky response. But to her surprise, he didn't say anything and just accepted it. In the restroom, MC calls Koinami for help, since he thinks they look awkward together, but Koinami leaves it all to him. Meanwhile, outside, Yume got lost because the women's restroom had a long line, and she went far away to search for another one. While she was panicking, Kirito called her knowing that she got lost. Yume expected him to be insulting her, but to her surprise, Kirito says it wasn't your fault in a calm voice, making our main girl fall for him even more. While waiting for our main boy, Yume goes on a flashback about their past when they were still a couple together. It was their first date at a local festival. After Yume confessed to our main boy Kirito, they booked their first date right away. Yume would later get lost on that date, and our main boy Kirito would come to find her like a real show-off. Oh, along with a milk tea in his hand, of course. Also, is it just me? Or this milk tea is showing some absolute dominance? Anyways, back to the future. MC is now there to pick up the lost cat. He brings that very same milk tea as he did at the festival. She was surprised to see him acting all nice to her. After that, they goes to the aquarium and had a good time together until dawn. Oh, I forgot to mention, they also had a small fight about mystery novels back at the aquarium. And it makes our main boy Kirito think about their relationship and how it changed over time. After their date, Manami accidentally bumps into MC and apologizes for entering his house without his permission. MC asks if she now intends in backing off, but she jokes about how she still plans to marry into the family. Later at home, Yume starts thinking about how her brother has been acting all strange. She can't seem to wrap her head around it, and the mystery of those shoes left by the door the other day made her even more confused. Once MC comes home, Yume gets up and takes the opportunity to punish him for the bra stealing incident. A brief flashback shows a young Kirito and Yume before they were formally in a relationship with each other. It was a moment at night that MC cherishes a lot. As he reads a book on the couch in their living room, Yume tells MC to accompany her in buying a present for their mom for Mother's Day. Yume claims it'd be less awkward if they both gave it to her, and they could split the cost. MC figures the latter reason is the true reason for her request and refuses as he wants to spend his Sunday in peace. Seemingly unfazed by the response, Yume accepts MC's refusal and walks off only to return later all dolled up, causing Kirito to gawk at her, which breaks the rules they follow. Later, they ride on a subway train and get into an awkward position with each other because of the bumpy ride. They decide to stay in that position mainly because they'd end up in it again when the train gets bumpy once again. At the shopping mall, they look at the kitchenware for sale. Ultimately, they decide to buy their mother a bouquet of carnations. That afternoon, Yume catches MC paying his respects to his mother's altar. MC notices Yume, and then she comes to comfort him. After this, they talk about how their parents barely spend time together despite being newlyweds. In MC's opinion, he believes their parents are being considerate of them, and Yume comments that she doesn't think MC was capable of noble consideration. They then contemplate a plan to get their parents closer by spending time together that's out of the house. However, this leads to nowhere, and the following day, they discuss it again during their breakfast. As it turns out, MC found a place for them to stay. It was Komanami and Akatsuki's home. MC also reveals that the two of them happen to be next-door neighbors. On Saturday, the two visits the apartment complex where they live and are greeted by them. Once they separate, they both tell MC and Yume about their history with each other. Komanami also says a lewd thing directed at Kirito, but said it as if it was a response to a comment made by MC. Immediately, Yume starts banging on the wall and then sends a barrage of texts to MC, calling him a pervert. In retaliation for what Komanami did, MC hog-ties Komanami in a sleeping bag and reads a poem that Komanami wrote about his feelings for Akatsuki when he dated her. This causes Akatsuki to slam the wall with her fists and be held back by Yume. Afterward, they all go to the same restaurant by coincidence. Then both childhood friends get into an argument about what food they should choose. Later, Yume and MC get into a scuffle about what drinks they should choose and decides to mix randoms, which later turns out to be a joke by the Komanami and Akatsuki, making both of them embarrassed. Akatsuki then snuggles against MC and asks him to tutor her, but he suggests that Yume do it as she's a better teacher than him. Although Yume believes that MC was complimenting her, he then remarks that his little effort to get good grades makes him a lousy teacher, which upsets her. Back at home, both sides study for the upcoming exams, and outside, MC admires Yume's pajamas that Akatsuki forced her to wear. They then recall how similar their current interactions with each other are to when they first met. And after that, they head to bed. Akatsuki approaches Yume and asks her if she wants to walk home with her, but she declines. Akatsuki's friends then chime in and claim that Yume has a lot on her plate, since she's aiming for first place in the midterm exam. At home, as Yume studies, she recalls back in middle school being bested by MC in a math test she was academically best in. Hence, Yume studied to reclaim her spot in the first place position. Despite doing so, MC didn't care. This made Yume feel hollow and unfulfilled by her accomplishment, believing she had an unrequited rivalry with him. It was a chance meeting in the library that she'd fall in love with him after talking about mystery-themed books. Later confronts MC, who doesn't seem to be studying much. However, he claims that he'll steal the top position from her in the upcoming midterms. To that declaration, Yume claims he can do his worst. The following day, Yume yawns aloud, and MC comments on Yume's determination to keep her top position. Yume brushes it off, claiming it's her life to maintain her position there. After the first day of exam, Yume reflects on her test score. However, she worries that MC may have scored higher than her because Japanese is one of his academic strengths. So Yume enters MC's room, finds his test, and confronts him over how he left the last answer intentionally blank, and calls him out for holding back for her sake. Their mother then intervenes and leaves to fetch their father to help mediate the situation. On the other hand, MC stands his ground, claiming that he doesn't have any interest in being in the first place in the midterms, so Yume can think of him any way she wants. The comments made by MC cause her to cry and later return to her room, believing she did have an unrequited rivalry with MC. Eventually, the midterm results are made public, and as it turns out, MC made first place and Yume made second. After her conversation with MC and then Akatsuki and her friends, Yume realizes what truly defines her. Upon this realization, Yume cries tears of joy, and Akatsuki tries to console her, believing her tears were the opposite. Afterward, Yume catches MC meeting a new girl in the library and uses the same pickup line he used on her. The girl was named Isana, and the two of them talked about various things like the definition of friendship. As it turns out, she was already a friend of MC and the only person he clicked with. Afterwards, the two ran into Yume at the school entrance. Isana is then formally introduced to them. Once they're gone, Isana is informed of Yume and his relationship together. At home, Yume reflects on her past and current relationship with MC and acts kinder and more cordial toward him for dinner the next day. Yume's actions perplex MC, and he relays this to Isana, stating it's not that she's being distant. Instead, he doesn't feel annoyed talking with her. Isana then reluctantly gives her advice to MC about his situation and goes on to say that everyone has their own set of criteria, like a base model of what a person would want. Hearing that, MC appreciates the advice that Isana gave. Eventually, in her room, Yume relishes how good she feels now that she's over MC, and he visits her. MC then confesses how he dislikes about her recent acts toward him and demands to know what triggered it. Yume then confesses that it was Isana who triggered the changes in her personality, which MC is relieved over but comments as he leaves her room that it was creepy. The next day at school, Yume, accompanied by Akatsuki, formally introduces herself to Isana, who is taken aback by this sudden introduction. MC then informs Isana of Yume's misconception of their relationship, and Isana gives an abstract answer that reinforces that Isana is not interested in MC. A flashback shows Yume failing to leave a love letter in MC's shoebox. She'd contemplate how to give it to him throughout the day until finally giving him the letter after school. Surprisingly, he accepted her offer to become her boyfriend. Isana gets a threatening letter that someone knows her secret and will reveal it unless she meets them at a specific place. When Isana heads to the place, a restaurant, it's revealed that Yume and Akatsuki were the culprits. Sitting at a table, Yume apologizes for Akatsuki's prank, but Akatsuki still insists they know of Isana's secret, that she likes MC, which she openly admits. Irked by the confession, Yume explains to her that Akatsuki meant that she knows Isana likes romantically, not in terms of friendship. Their claim is proven when they show Isana a video of MC sleeping and Akatsuki whispers something in her ear, causing her to blush. To her admission, MC was Isana's first crush, and to progress things, Akatsuki offers Yume and herself's help to make Isana become MC's girlfriend. Isana, however, declines, reinforcing she's only MC's friend, but seeing parallels of how she was in middle school toward MC. Yume gives a motivational speech, and Isana admits she'd like to admit he likes her. Once that was settled, they all plan to start their mission the next day. The following day, Akatsuki and Yume observe Isana's time with MC to find a weak point of his. Soon, they observe as Isana reads a book on a ledge and MC quietly reads his book. When MC walks away, Akatsuki notices that Isana's underwear is showing. Once MC returns, he stoically tells her about it. Embarrassed, Isana heads to the restroom and regroups with the girls. She learns that MC likely doesn't consider her as a romantic material. Akatsuki thinks about how she needs to get touchy with our main boy to appreciate her womanly charm. Isana then returns to the library and follows her advice, but fails miserably. Back to the restroom, they debrief over the situation. Yume suggests Isana to be true to herself. Akatsuki agrees, but claims that her lack of confidence isn't okay either. Hence, she suggests that she give Isana a makeover. After she gets her makeover from Akatsuki, Isana returns to MC, but he rejects all of Isana's advances toward him and gives her a nuji. Despite this, Isana has MC comb her hair, which is a success in their book. Afterward, at the restaurant, Isana is told that she should confess her love to MC, which she's hesitant to do. Still, Akatsuki persuades her to do it with a motivational speech, and Yume chimes in with her own speech too. Later, Yume learns from Akatsuki that Isana is set to meet with MC behind the school at 5 p.m. the following day to confess her feelings for him. The next day, around the scheduled time of the meeting, Isana gets some lip gloss prepared by Akatsuki and is given a pep talk by her and Yume. MC then arrives and immediately claims he's figured out why he's been called out there, so he suggests Isana to say her spiel. She does, and while MC confesses they have a lot in common, he cannot accept her confession because he has prior commitments to another he's interested in and apologizes for it. Internally, Yume contemplates why MC denied her feelings. The day in the restroom, Akatsuki and Yume confronts Isana about why she's hanging out with MC after he rejected her. Isana claims although he broke her heart, it doesn't mean they can't continue being friends. A few days later, MC is sitting next to Isana reading books together in the library. Then, Higashira says she wishes to pursue Mizuto's book collection, and when questioned, she says it's an innate desire. She requests to see his collection and nothing more. She gives a detailed explanation of what she wants to observe in the books, and to see what heroines drive his sexual awakening. Talk about being such a naughty girl. She refers to inappropriate books, which she assumes that our main boy Kirito has. But MC smacks her lightly on her shoulder. Isana asks him to be more gentle as it would be better for both of them that way. Mizuto comments that she has been more of a pain in the neck than usual. She then teases him saying, "So you've decided to feel me up with your eyes?" She also jokes saying, "You can even imagine me in nude if you desire to." MC then states he's ready to end the friendship. She then quickly apologizes and assures him that she won't make dirty jokes anymore. She profusely apologizes while grabbing his hand between her watermelons with an innocent face. Mizuto remarks that his innocent act will be in jeopardy if he lets her over. She asks him to fear not, since she will release her sexual tension beforehand, trying to steer the conversation to a normal side. She comments that Kirito seems like the kind of guy to hold on to older light novels, so she was hoping she could borrow some. He agrees, but says that she will have to come to a guy's house alone, which he thinks may put her on edge, but she wonders aloud saying, "What's there to be on edge about?" When he already turned her down, proving that he has no interest in her. Our main boy Kirito then gets stunned hearing that, and questions himself how he can refute her with that pure innocent gaze. Later, we see Isana waiting at a bus stop. Yume and Minami then approach her. They then proceed to diss her outfit and her fashion sense. Minami then comes up with the agenda for the day, which she dubs Operation Makeover Higashira Isana. Minami then mentions that Isana will be going to MC's house the next day, and she can't embarrass herself by wearing something lame like that. Yume then adds that they thought of lending some assistance to Isana. Yume suggests they go shopping for some cute clothes. Isana then replies saying that if that's a good idea, as she didn't bring any money from home. Yume tells her not to worry about it, as she and Minami will pay for everything that day. Isana hesitates and refuses, but they further assure her not to worry. They state that they have one condition though. Isana tries on whatever they suggest, with no ifs and buts. We then see them in a shop named Lucas, and Isana asks in bewilderment if she has to try a certain dress picked by them, and they urge her to. Isana protests, but they bring back the ifs or buts. While Isana changes, Yume inquires whether Minami just wanted to use her as a dress-up doll. Minami admits that she indeed wanted to use Isana as a dress-up doll. Then with hesitance, Isana says that she is done changing, and when she comes out in a short crop top and a high-waist jeans shorts, Yume and Minami instantly comments, saying too lewd. They then want to know about Isana's cup size. She replies that she is a G cup. The duo gets shocked after hearing that, and then Minami grabs her watermelons out of frustration. Isana then goes back to the changing room, telling them not to touch out of nowhere. After she closes the door, Yume remarks that she never knew breasts could jiggle so much, to which Minami agrees. Then in a montage of Isana wearing various different types of dresses, those do comments that all the dresses look too lewd on her. Minami addresses the dilemma. Anything she wears looks slightly indecent. Isana asks if she can just wear what she usually does. She adds that a reserved person like her has no business sticking out like a sore thumb. We see her trying on another outfit, which looks normal with a t-shirt, jeans, and a jacket, but still her breasts are too big. Minami states that nothing will work unless they downplay the G-cups. While yet again tapping her watermelons, she recommends that Isana wears something loose and flowy, similar to what Yume is wearing. It softens one's silhouette. She advises her to take a loose top, with a flowy skirt which she hopes will hide Isana's sexy bodyline. Minami then contradicts it, stating that it would be copying Yume's style. Isana wasn't aware that it is wrong to copy someone else's style, but Minami clarifies that it is indeed bad to copy one's style. She adds that girls have to coordinate their outfits in order to maintain harmony. Isana is amazed. Minami then goes ahead and says it won't be an issue though. If Yume changes her style, Isana and Yume will be different then. Yume gets bewildered, but Isana is enthusiastic to be part of Yume's new type of awakening. Minami then hops off to find Yume a suiting dress. Yume wonders if this was her plan all along to make Yume the dress-up doll. As Isana and Minami wait outside the trial room for Yume to finish, inside, Yume thinks about how she has avoided wearing tight clothing for so long. She thinks of her childhood self, which she describes as a youthful indiscretion. But from second to third year of middle school, she had what could be called a boyfriend. Given how she was categorically unsophisticated and was peerless and elegant girl, she had one matter she had to address with utmost priority, which was her fashion sense. After foolishly agreeing to a date on the weekend, she was left scratching her head regarding what she should wear and did the research for it. Within it, she found no pleasing option until the very last minute. When the date arrived, she found a dress she was satisfied with and went to go meet him. However, when they met, MC had no reaction at all. He was utterly unfazed and didn't remark on it as the date progressed. She concluded that she must have looked so lame that he decided not to comment on that topic to save her shame. Although as they were about to separate, he said something unexpected. He complimented her outfit, saying it looked cute. MC was probably too shy to say it sooner, but then he added that he would prefer if she didn't wear mini skirts outside. Our lover girl is left confused and ponders over it, questioning various things. She was thrilled that her boyfriend, who she thought was unattracted to her, showed a loving sign. Overcoming with joy, she smiled her way to home. Ever since then, her entire sense of fashion had been dedicated to MC's approval. Cutting back to the current Yume, she is embarrassed about her past behavior. Meanwhile, the other girls ask Yume if she's done changing. She gets out of her thoughts and comes out in a standard half-sleeves top with white jeans on the bottom, bringing up an amazing new look. Minami and Isana are stunned, and even Yume says she likes it. Minami remarks how not many girls can pull off skinny white jeans, but Yume's beautiful legs are doing her favors. Yume again states to herself that she should stop relying on her middle school fashion sense. Yume decides to buy the outfit, and Minami remarks to herself that her dreams are finally coming to fruition. She then announces that Isana is next. We see that now Minami is helping Isana with a cute dress. Isana then asks if it's too cutesy for her. Minami replies saying that is what they are trying to achieve. A cute-looking Isana in a cut top and in a frilly skirt suddenly shuts the curtain and demands a second. After a while, Isana requests if they can go with the current dress and the other two agree. Yume comments that she seemed on the edge earlier, so what made her change her mind? She reveals a text exchange with our main boy Kirito, who rated her outfit and said that it looked good. Minami marks this as a success, and when she asks Yume the same, she has a slight hesitation when she agrees. Isana looks forward to the next day. We then cut to MC's thoughts, which are very similar to the one Yume had in the changing room. He says that the bond between the two of them was bound by books. We see a past exchange between them, in which MC invites Yume to his house to borrow some books, which Yume can't seem to buy from the stores. Yume replies very hesitantly, to which MC realizes he might have made her uncomfortable and immediately takes it back. Kirito then says that he'll bring it to school the next day. Since they were dating, them being alone in a room had questionable implications. Cutting back to the current MC, he is sitting on his study desk reading a book when he receives a text message from Isana stating, "I'm here." MC guides her from the main door to his room, passing his astonished parents on the way and telling them that she is just a friend. Isana is fascinated by his collection, so she asks him if she can check them out. He permits her as far as she puts things back where she took them from. Then MC's eyes dart to a spectating Yume, who says she is just supervising. Looking at her new outfit, Yume says that she can't have him lay a finger on Isana. MC confidentially asks her if she really thinks he would do that with the entire family at home. Meanwhile, Isana is amazed by a certain novel that she has wanted to read for a while. She asks for MC's permission to read it, and he allows her. She then takes off her socks and makes herself comfy on MC's bed. Yume immediately interrogates Isana, furiously asking her what she thinks she is doing. She says that she asked MC's permission. Yume then asks her if she isn't even a little on edge. Isana doesn't follow, and Yume starts preaching saying that she has already been rejected, so it's fine, and asks for approval for MC. He gives a disinterested sure. Yume is messed up and is unable to wrap her head around this situation. MC states that he is committed to treating Isana just like how he would treat any of his male friends. He suggests Yume relaxes and read a book. Yume exhaustively agrees. A clock shows us that it is exactly 3 p.m. We see a shot of the room showing MC sitting on his chair, Isana lying on the bed with her butt up, and Yume sitting on the floor with the support of the wall, all indulged in books. Yume glances at a concentrated MC and then a cheerful Isana. The clock now displays that an hour and 5 minutes have passed, with the time being 4:05. It is then that Isana announces her completion of the first volume. MC is slightly surprised. Isana then asks MC to rub her shoulders as they are stiff. MC asks her why should he do something like that. Isana replies saying that people with bigger boobs often suffer from stiff shoulders. He states that that was not what he asked. She continues to complain about them after sitting upright. She says that she has no choice but to make his bed her final resting place. She then lays back down and rolls around on the bed again. MC gives up and agrees to rub her shoulders so she doesn't get her scent all over his bed. Isana sits upright and MC is on his knees behind her. She requests him to be gentle. After her first touch, Isana loudly moans and asks him to go just like that. Out of context, but these lines sound like straight out of those hentai lines. MC obviously catches on to her weird act and asks her what she's playing at. Isana states that she is reenacting a light novel trope she read recently, where the characters seem to be doing something raunchy. But as it turns out that they actually aren't doing anything naughty or suspicious. MC then contrasts and says that those scenarios don't usually happen in real life. He then pinches her shoulders with a higher amount of force as punishment, and she exclaims in pain, saying that that's too hard. Yume closes her book and with fierceness asks just how close are those two. She guesses that they are toying with her and that they have been dating all along. Isana, confused, says that they have always been that way. MC agrees. Yumae has gotten it all figured out now. Neither of them has ever had friends, so they don't know the concept of personal boundaries. Isana sighs and says that was rude. Also adds the fact they have had at least 1 or 2 friends. MC then once again agrees. They both then look at each other romantically. Isana says that everyone has different personal boundaries. MC agrees and mentions that friendship looks different for everyone. Yumae then tells them to nevertheless stop getting touchy on the bed in silent voice. Isana pities MC by saying that it must be hard living with such a possessive little sister. He admits it is a pain. With this, we end our video. Stay tuned for the next part and watch our other quality contents. Stay safe. Bye.